My name is Maribel Knox, 32 years old. The cake was supposed to be simple: chocolate raspberry, 2 tiers, clean ivory frosting, gold lettering. I remember standing at the edge of the private dining room, glass in one hand, mic in the other, waiting for the server to roll it out so I could say a few polite words and finally sit down. I'd paid for everything: food, drinks, the cake, even the stupid little gold candles that leaned slightly to the left. But I didn't mind. This wasn't meant to be flashy, just a moment. Mine. Then the lid came off. Congrats to the real star, Ashley. Not crossed out, not smudged, perfectly piped in bold pink letters. For half a second, my brain refused to register it, like when you read the same sentence over and over and it doesn't stick. Then my dad laughed. Not a nervous laugh, not a mistake laugh. A full-bodied chuckle that carried across the table. "Wow," he said, loud enough for everyone to hear. "Even the cake says it." A few people laughed, the kind of laughter that asks permission. My mom made a small sound, somewhere between a giggle and a cough, like she could erase it if she reacted lightly enough. "She's always outshone you," Dad added, shaking his head fondly. "Hasn't she?" I stood there holding the mic, frozen, the room suddenly too quiet and too bright. The cake sat between us like evidence. I'd ordered it myself. The order form had my name on it. "Congratulations, Maribel. I checked that detail 3 times. Ashley, my younger sister, smiled and lifted her champagne glass in a lazy little wave, like she was acknowledging applause. She hadn't finished college. She hadn't held a job longer than a year. She filmed boss babe reels from the guest room of our parents' house, ring light propped on a stack of old yearbooks. But right now, she looked comfortable, like this was exactly where she expected to be. "It's just a joke," she said, tilting her head. "Don't be so sensitive." Sensitive. The family word for inconvenient. This wasn't even supposed to be a party, just dinner with my parents, Ashley, and a few colleagues from work who'd insisted on celebrating. I'd been promoted to senior project manager after 6 years of staying late, fixing other people's mistakes, covering weekends, and making sure no one else took the fall when things went wrong. I'd trained half the department. I'd carried projects no one wanted. I thought, naively, that tonight might acknowledge that. Instead, my promotion had become a prop. I took a breath. I felt my face settle into something calm, something practiced. I smiled. "Well," I said slowly, looking directly at my dad, "if she's the real star, then she can pay the bill she just lost." The laughter stopped. Ashley's smile cracked first. "What do you mean?" she asked, her voice suddenly sharp. "You'll see," I said. Dad tried to laugh it off, but it came out tight. "Come on, Mari, don't be dramatic." I clinked my glass gently against the mic stand. "Cheers," I said, raising it toward my coworkers, toward my parents, toward the cake. To fake congratulations and final straws. I set the mic down and sat. No one followed up. No one apologized. The server quietly slid the check away from me. That night I went home alone. The next morning, my phone exploded. 56 missed calls. Texts from my mom in all caps. Voicemails from my dad, his voice strained, suddenly polite. By noon, Ashley had posted a black and white photo of herself crying in a mirror. "People who can't shine build cages for those who do," the caption read. "I forgive you, Maribel." 600 likes in 3 hours. The comments rolled in fast. "So proud of you, Ash. Haters gonna hate. Let her stay bitter, queen." My mom commented, "So proud of the woman you've become." I hadn't spoken to any of them. Then Dad called again. This time he left a voicemail. "Mari, look, I know last night got weird. Ashley didn't mean anything by it. She's under a lot of pressure. People expect a lot from her. You're the older one. You're supposed to understand. Don't blow this out of proportion. Please call me." Understand. I understood plenty. I understood when Ashley forgot to Venmo me back for groceries, rent, utilities. I understood when my parents drained my savings to fix their roof and said we'd settle it later. I understood when Ashley crashed my car and they said I shouldn't have loaned it to her. I understood when they skipped my graduation because flights were expensive and posted photos from Vegas 2 weeks later. Understanding had turned me into a doormat. I turned my phone off. That night, I didn't sleep. My mind replayed everything I'd brushed aside for years. Every comparison, every joke, every time my work was minimized because Ashley was working on something big. I wasn't the favorite. I was the fallback plan. Reliable, replaceable, invisible. 6 months earlier, Ashley had called me crying about a toxic work environment, which turned out to mean she'd been caught stealing client information to freelance on the side. Mom and Dad were tired of bailing her out. So I did. 3 months' rent, groceries. I even helped her build a fake portfolio so she could look legitimate. She thanked me with a single emoji. 2 months later, she went to Tulum with her new boyfriend, Brad, a 47-year-old crypto investor with a rented condo and a broken jacuzzi. I found out through Instagram captions about believing in yourself. My parents called it networking. When I asked Dad why he always dismissed my work, he said, "You make good money. What more do you want? A trophy?" Number 1, I wanted to matter. By the third night of silence, something shifted. The hurt hardened into clarity. I wasn't angry anymore. I was alert. I opened the family group chat archive, scrolled back years, screenshot after screenshot, requests, guilt trips. Just help your sister a bit. I pulled my payment history, Venmo logs, notes, dates, over $12,000 sent to Ashley in under 2 years. Then I remembered February, Dad asking for help with tax paperwork, a small business grant for his sports memorabilia side hustle. He'd asked me to sign a few things for formality. I dug up the folder. It wasn't a grant. It was a loan application, $18,000. My name listed as co-signer, my address. I called the loan company. They didn't hesitate. "Your signature appears to be a scanned image," the agent said calmly. "The application is under review for fraud." My accountant found 3 deductions I'd never submitted, added by a third-party preparer Dad had referred me to. Then I checked Ashley's LinkedIn. She'd listed my company as a client, with testimonials. Signed, Maribel K. I sat back and stared at the screen. The room felt very quiet, very still. I realized something then, something that landed heavy and final. The cake wasn't the betrayal. It was the reveal. And I wasn't fixing anything anymore. I didn't cry when I closed my laptop. That surprised me. I thought there would be tears, shaking hands, maybe some dramatic moment where I slid down the wall and let it all out. Instead, I felt organized, like something inside me had clicked into place and started sorting facts from feelings. I made coffee, strong, black. I opened a new folder on my desktop and named it plainly, Family. Inside, I created subfolders, Ashley, Mom, Dad, Payments, Documents. That alone should tell you how long this had been building. Normal people don't categorize betrayal unless it's already been happening for years. I started with Ashley. Venmo first. I exported the full history. Every, "Can you spot me till Friday?" Every, "I'll pay you back as soon as this client pays." Each transaction came with a note. Groceries, rent help, just this once. I added them up slowly, carefully, because part of me still wanted the number to be smaller. $12,347. Not counting the groceries I'd bought in person, not counting the utilities I'd covered, not counting the emergency laptop I'd replaced when she spilled wine on hers, not counting the hours I spent helping her rewrite resumes, practice pitches, edit captions, pretend her life was something it wasn't. I scrolled through old texts. Ashley, "You're literally the only one who believes in me." Ashley, "I swear when I make it, I'm taking care of you." Ashley, "You're amazing. I don't say it enough." And then silence, until the next crisis. I pulled up Instagram. Her Tulum photos were still there. Sunlit skin, poolside drinks, captions about abundance and alignment. I zoomed in on one picture, her laughing, head thrown back, Brad's arm heavy around her waist. I remembered sitting at my kitchen table that same week, calculating how to stretch my savings because she needed just a little more time. My parents' voices echoed in my head. "She's finding herself. She's networking. You know how creative people are." Creative, right. I moved to the mom folder. Screenshots of messages that started with praise and ended with expectation. "You're such a good daughter. Ashley is really struggling. It would mean a lot to us." Family helps family. No acknowledgement of what it cost me. No curiosity about whether I was okay. Just assumption. Then Dad. His messages were shorter, less emotional, more directive. "Can you handle this? Your sister needs help. You're better at this stuff." I paused on one message from last year. "Don't make a big deal out of it. You always land on your feet." I realized that was how they justified everything. I survived, therefore I didn't suffer. The loan documents were still open on my screen. $18,000. Interest compounding. My stomach twisted, not with fear, but with something colder. Calculation. I called the loan company again, asked for the fraud department, walked them through everything. I emailed copies of my ID, my real signature, a statement denying consent. They thanked me. Calm, professional, efficient. I called my accountant next. She didn't sound surprised. That hurt more than anything. I've seen this before, she said gently. Families blur lines, especially when one person is competent. Competent, another word that had been weaponized against me. By mid-afternoon, I opened LinkedIn again. Ashley's profile was a masterclass in fiction. She'd listed my company as a client, complete with glowing testimonials. One was dated during a month I was out on medical leave. Another referenced a project she'd never even seen. Signed by me. I took screenshots, saved everything. My hands finally started to shake when I opened my email and drafted a message to my boss. I stared at the cursor for a long time. Sending this would hurt Ashley. There was no way around that. It could also reflect back on me. Nepotism, carelessness, trusting family. But then I thought of the cake, the mic in my hand, my dad laughing. I attached the files. I explained calmly. I didn't accuse. I didn't dramatize. I just laid out facts and said one sentence that felt like stepping off a cliff. I need to be transparent before this becomes a liability for the company. She replied in 9 minutes. Thank you for telling me. We'll handle this. That was it. I sat there, heart pounding, waiting for regret. It didn't come. Instead, my phone rang. Mom, then Dad, then Ashley. 6 calls in a row. I didn't answer. I watched the screen light up and go dark again, each time feeling something loosen inside my chest. An hour later, Ashley texted, "What did you do?" I didn't respond. By evening, the fallout started rolling in. Her agency website went offline. The client I'd helped her land quietly pulled the contract. Her LinkedIn headline changed, then disappeared entirely. The family group chat lit up like a crime scene. Mom, Maribel, please call me. Dad, this is serious. Mom, she's devastated. Devastated. I thought of the way she'd waved her champagne glass, the way she'd smiled when the cake erased me, the way she'd called me sensitive. I turned my phone face down, but I wasn't done, because Ashley had forgotten one thing. Months ago, she'd signed into her iCloud on the family iPad to download photos for a post and never logged out. I'd noticed then, filed it away. At the time, I told myself I wasn't that person. I wouldn't snoop. Turns out I was exactly that person now. I opened the Photos app, then voice memos. The first recording made my blood go cold. Her voice, smooth, amused. Maribel, she's the perfect mule. Pays for everything, doesn't ask questions. That's her whole personality. Reliable fool. I sat there in the dark, listening, again and again. There were more, laughing about using Mom's information to apply for unemployment twice, mocking Dad's business idea, bragging to friends about how she could always get money out of me if she cried hard enough. I saved everything. I created a new folder, Star Power, the Ashley files. When Mom texted later asking if we could all have Sunday dinner to talk like a family, she attached a photo. The same cake from my party, redecorated. This time it said, "Family is forever." I stared at the picture for a long moment. Then I replied with one word. Sure. I showed up 15 minutes late on purpose. Not to be dramatic, though maybe a small part of me enjoyed that, but because I needed those minutes in my car, hands on the steering wheel, reminding myself that I wasn't walking into this house to be liked. I was walking in to finish something. The porch light was already on, too bright against the early evening sky. When Dad opened the door, I almost didn't recognize him. He looked smaller, not physically, emotionally, the kind of tired that settles in when the story you've been telling yourself stops working. "You're late," he said, trying to sound normal. "I know," I replied. I stepped inside, carrying a small, black Bluetooth speaker in one hand and a bright orange envelope in the other. The weight of them felt steady, grounding. Ashley was already at the table. No makeup, no phone, no wine glass. She sat hunched over her plate, staring at nothing like a kid waiting to be scolded. For a split second, something flickered across her face when she saw me. Fear, sharp and unmasked. Then it vanished. Mom smiled too quickly. "We just want to talk," she said, the words coming out rehearsed, like she'd practiced them in the mirror. I didn't respond. I set the speaker on the table. Ashley's eyes locked onto the orange envelope. "What's that?" Dad asked. "Truth," I said, "the version you can't edit." Ashley's chair scraped as she shifted. "Maribel, you're taking this too far." I sat down slowly, plugged in the speaker, looked directly at her. "Do you remember the voice note you sent Brad?" I asked calmly. "The one where you said you were just milking the dumb ones until your brand blew up?" Her face drained of color. Maribel, Mom started. I pressed play. Ashley's voice filled the room, smooth and smug. Maribel, she's the perfect mule, pays for everything, doesn't ask questions. That's her whole personality, reliable fool. Silence slammed down on the table. Mom's hand flew to her mouth. Dad blinked like he hadn't heard correctly. Ashley stood up so fast her chair tipped backward. That's not, she started, then stopped. I've got more, I said, not raising my voice. You used Mom's ID to apply for unemployment twice in 1 month. I have the forms. And Dad, your loan application using my name as a cosigner? It's under fraud review. Dad slammed his hand on the table. That's enough. Oh no, I said gently. We're not done. I pulled out my phone, opened AirDrop, and sent the folder to the living room TV. The screen blinked, then filled with thumbnails. Star Power, the Ashley files. Screenshots. Fake testimonials. LinkedIn lies. Venmo logs. Audio clips. Messages where Ashley bragged about manipulating Mom into guilt money. Ashley screamed. A raw and animal sound. She lunged for the speaker, knocking over her wine glass. Red spilled across the tablecloth like a wound. This is a setup, she yelled. You're obsessed with me. No, I said, standing. I turned to Mom. I was your daughter until I became your bank. Mom's lips trembled. You're twisting this. This is cruel. What's cruel, I said, my voice finally breaking through the calm, is raising one child to be a weapon and the other to be a shield. The doorbell rang. All three of them froze. Dad turned toward the hallway. Who else is coming? Someone who knows the rest of the story, I said. Tina walked in like she had nothing left to lose. Ashley's former business partner. She carried a brown envelope and a USB drive. You might want to see this, Tina said, plugging the USB into the TV. I covered for your daughter until I got audited because of her fake invoices. Emails flooded the screen. Photos of luxury items charged to client cards. An Excel file titled, How to Look Legit Even If Broke. Ashley collapsed into her chair. Tina turned to me and nodded. Thanks for giving me the courage. She's been wrecking lives for years. Yours was just the most convenient. Then she left. Dad stood, shaking. This is betrayal. You're trying to ruin this family. I stood too. No, I'm mending the fantasy. Ashley sobbed. You're killing me! I picked up the mic from the cake table, the same one from my party. Funny, I said quietly. That's what the cake said about you. The real star. I dropped the mic, and I walked out. I didn't feel victorious walking to my car. I felt hollowed out, like I'd finally cut something rotten out of my body and was standing there bleeding, not sure yet if the wound would heal clean or scar ugly. Behind me, the house erupted. I heard it through the door before it shut. Dad shouting, Mom crying, Ashley screaming something about lawyers and defamation and how I'd ruined her life. The porch light flicked off and on again, like someone pacing past the switch. For a second, I stood there with my hand on the car door, listening. Then I got in and drove away. By the time I reached my apartment, my phone was vibrating nonstop on the passenger seat. I didn't look at it. I already knew what it would say. How could you? This didn't have to be public. She's your sister. Public. As if I'd dragged their secrets into the street instead of them building their lives on my silence. I slept for 3 hours. Woke up just before dawn with my heart racing, the kind of adrenaline hangover you get after a car accident or a fight. My throat was dry. My body ached. But my mind was sharp. Clear in a way it hadn't been in years. I made coffee and opened my laptop. The folder was still there, everything labeled, everything backed up twice. I stared at it for a long time before I did the thing that would make all of this irreversible. I opened my editing software. The video wasn't dramatic. I didn't cry on camera. I didn't raise my voice. I told the story the way I'd lived it. Methodical, quiet, undeniable. The cake, the jokes, the money, the receipts, the forged loan. Ashley's voice notes. Tina's evidence. I blurred faces where it made sense. I left names where it mattered. 9 minutes and 46 seconds. I titled it, When Your Promotion Cake Says, Congrats to Ashley, but You Paid the Bill. The thumbnail was a still from dinner. Ashley mid-scream. Wine spilled across the table. Me standing, holding the mic. The caption read, This is what happens when the helper finally walks away. I hovered over the upload button. For a moment, I thought of my mom's smile when we were kids, of my dad teaching me how to ride a bike, of Ashley and I building blanket forts in the living room before everything turned into competition and comparison. Then I remembered the cake. I clicked upload. By noon, it had 80,000 views. By 3 p.m., it was over 500,000. My phone started ringing with numbers I hadn't seen in years. my uncle, a coworker from my first job, my ex. Even my old high school history teacher left a voicemail that just said, "I'm proud of you." The comments flooded in faster than I could read them. "You're not the villain. You're the mirror. My sister did the same thing to me." Financial abuse doesn't stop being abuse because it's family. Ashley tried to fight back that night. She went live on Instagram, cried for 8 minutes straight, said things like, "I never asked for money. She just gave it." And, "I'm sorry if people misinterpreted my words." The problem with crying on camera is it only works if the receipts aren't already public. The comments turned fast. "Why does your sister have all the proof, though?" "Girl, you're just mad the ATM stopped working. Those audio clips didn't record themselves." She turned off comments by morning. Mom posted a long Facebook status full of phrases like, "Family is complicated," and "Maribel didn't mean to hurt us. She's just emotional." I screenshotted it and added it to my Instagram story with one line. "She's more upset I exposed the lies than that they existed." Dad called 22 times in one day, left 6 voicemails. In one, he said, "You blew this up for views. I could have fixed it. Now you've made us a laughingstock." In another, "I lost the dealership contract. They said I'm too high risk. Do you have any idea what you've done?" I listened to them once, then archived them. I knew exactly what I'd done. I dropped the match and stopped pretending the tent wasn't already soaked in gasoline. 2 days later, a journalist messaged me. She ran a podcast about financial abuse inside families. She'd seen the video, listened twice. "Would you be willing to tell your story?" she asked. I said yes. The episode dropped within the week. Gaslight, gatekeep, girl bossed by my own family. It went everywhere. Spotify, TikTok, Reddit. People stitched clips of my video with captions like, "If this is a villain, hand me the cape." Strangers messaged me saying they'd sent it to their therapist. Some said they sent it to their sister. Then someone leaked screenshots from Ashley's coaching group chat. Turns out she'd been charging $150 for Zoom calls full of recycled Pinterest quotes and borrowed trauma. The group folded within days. Her PayPal account was frozen. I didn't celebrate. While they scrambled to salvage reputations, I was building something real. I didn't feel triumphant watching the numbers climb. Not the subscribers, not the sponsorship offers, not the DMs thanking me for saying out loud what so many people lived quietly. What I felt was steady, grounded, like I'd finally stopped bracing for impact. I turned the story into structure. A YouTube series. Unpaid Daughters. How to Burn the Cape. You never asked for. The first episode was the party, the cake, the mic, the moment everything cracked. The second was practical. How to spot financial manipulation inside families. Red flags, scripts, boundaries that don't require permission. By the end of the first week, I had 20,000 subscribers. By the end of the month, 200,000. My inbox filled with brand inquiries, podcast invites, messages that started with, "I thought I was alone." I wasn't. In the middle of it all, an email came through that stopped me cold. The sender was one of my mom's old friends, someone I hadn't heard from since I was 14. She said she'd watched the video, listened to the podcast. Then she attached a photo. It was a birthday card, one I'd made for my mom when I was 12. Construction paper, crooked letters, inside in my shaky handwriting. "One day I'll be successful and take care of you so you never have to work again." Below it, in my mom's handwriting, "That's my girl, my golden one." I stared at the image for a long time. What broke me wasn't the promise. It was the realization that I'd kept it. I had taken care of them, quietly, consistently, and somehow it had turned into an obligation they felt entitled to, and a role they resented me for outgrowing. 3 weeks after the dinner, after the podcast, after the digital wildfire, I changed my number. Not because I was afraid, because I was done. The new number went on my business cards. Front, Maribel Knox, storytelling and strategy. Back, in bold, not available for family emergencies. Dad emailed me. Subject line, "Let's talk like adults." It was a masterclass in deflection, polished phrases, carefully placed, we all made mistakes. In the middle, one line stood out. "At the end of the day, I raised 2 strong women. That should count for something," I replied once. "No, you raised 1 manipulator and 1 backup plan, and I'm no longer available for either." Then I blocked him. Ashley tried too. She posted a crying video on YouTube accusing me of hacking her files, manufacturing drama, ambushing her for attention. She ended it with, "She'll always be my sister, even if she wants to destroy me." The comments were brutal. You scammed your sister and now you want sympathy? Not Maribel dropping receipts like a lawyer in court. You weren't destroyed. You self-destructed. Someone stitched it on TikTok with the caption, "If this is what a villain looks like, I'm buying the cape." The real ending didn't come with applause. It came on a quiet Friday evening. I was walking past the bakery near my apartment, the same one that had made the original cake. Sasha, the owner, waved me down from the doorway. "Wait," she said, "I made you something." She handed me a white box tied with a ribbon. Inside was a single-tier cake. Vanilla almond, my favorite. Soft white frosting. Simple gold script. "Congrats, Maribel." No edits. I laughed. Not the broken kind, the kind that rebuilds you. That night, I ate a slice barefoot on my balcony with black coffee and the city humming below. No phone buzzing. No one asking for money, help, or silence. Just stillness. I scrolled through comments on my latest video. One stopped me. "You didn't cut them off. You just stopped setting yourself on fire to keep them warm." Exactly. 2 days later, I made a 5-figure donation to a nonprofit that helps women estranged from their families start over. There was a space to dedicate it. I typed, "In honor of Ashley, the star who burned everything down so I could rise from the ashes." I don't flinch anymore when people say family is forever. Some families aren't built. They're born broken. Some collapse under the weight of their own lies. Me? I walked out, and I locked the door behind me. Not the villain, not the victim, not the savior.